Imagine for a moment that you're a prisoner, but there are no bars, no guards, and no locks. The walls are invisible, yet they are more solid than stone. You wake up every morning with a weight on your chest, a silent command from your own mind telling you to stay down. You reach for your phone before your eyes are even fully open. You scroll through the lives of strangers, chasing a tiny spark of pleasure that vanishes the second you look away. You are hungry for something you cannot name, so you feed yourself distractions. You eat the digital sugar of social media, the hollow noise of videos you won't remember tomorrow, and the comfort of staying exactly where you are. Your brain is a masterpiece of evolution, designed to survive the harshest winters and hunt the fiercest predators. Yet here it is, defeated by a glowing rectangle in the palm of your hand. You have become a victim of a chemical called dopamine, a molecule that was meant to drive you toward greatness, but has instead become the leash that keeps you obedient to your own comfort. There was a man named Elias. Elias was not a failure by the world's standards, but he was a ghost in his own life. He had dreams that lived in the back of his mind like dusty books on a shelf he never touched. He wanted to build a business. He wanted to transform his body. He wanted to be a man of impact. But every time he sat down to do the work, a physical pain would bloom in his gut. The silence of a blank page felt like a scream. The weight of a dumbbell felt like an insult. His brain would whisper to him, "Not today." It would tell him that he was tired, that he deserved a break, that the world was too loud and he needed to hide. So he would retreat. He would find refuge in the easy things. He would watch movies about heroes while his own story remained unwritten. He would play games where he was a king, while in reality he was a slave to his sofa. He was stuck in a loop of instant gratification, a cycle where the reward comes before the effort. And because the reward is so easy to get, the effort becomes impossible to give. One night, Elias sat in the dark, the blue light of his screen reflecting in his tired eyes. He felt a profound sense of disgust. It wasn't sadness, it was a cold, hard realization that if he died that night, he would leave nothing behind but a history of consumed content. He realized that his brain was broken. It had been hijacked. We think we are in control of our choices, but most of us are just following the chemical breadcrumbs dropped by our environment. When you get a notification, your brain releases a tiny drop of dopamine. It feels good for a millisecond, so you check it. When you eat junk food, your brain screams with delight. Over time, your threshold for pleasure goes up and up. You need more noise, more sugar, more scrolling just to feel normal. And because your brain is now calibrated for high-intensity, effortless pleasure, the thought of doing something hard, something that requires patience, focus, and struggle, feels like literal torture. Your brain looks at a difficult task and sees no immediate reward, so it shuts down. It tricks you into thinking you are lazy, but the truth is you are just overstimulated. Elias decided to do something radical. He decided to starve his brain. He called it the Great Silence. For 24 hours, he stripped away everything. No phone, no internet, no music, no books, no tasty food, no talking. He sat in a room with nothing but a notebook and a pen. The first hour was okay. He felt a sense of novelty, a strange peace. But by the second hour, the walls began to close in. The silence was deafening. His mind began to race like a caged animal. It begged him for a distraction. It told him he was wasting time. It told him he was going crazy. He felt an intense itch to just check the time, to just hear a song, to just do anything other than sit with himself. This is the moment most people fail. This is the withdrawal. This is your brain realizing that the easy dopamine is gone, and it begins to panic. Elias felt the physical discomfort of boredom, a sensation so rare in our modern world that we treat it like a disease. But boredom is not a disease, it is a vacuum, and a vacuum must be filled. By the 10th hour, something strange happened. The panic faded. The noise in his head began to settle like dust after a storm. Without the constant input of the digital world, his senses began to sharpen. He noticed the way the light moved across the floor. He noticed the rhythm of his own breathing. He picked up the pen and began to write. At first, it was just nonsense, but then the thoughts began to flow. Ideas he hadn't had in years started to surface. Because there was no easy dopamine to chase, his brain started looking for pleasure in the only thing available, his own thoughts. He found that he could focus for an hour, then 2, then 3. The hard thing wasn't hard anymore because the easy things were no longer an option. He had reset his baseline. He had lowered the volume of the world so he could finally hear his own soul. To trick your brain into liking hard things, you must first stop feeding it the easy things. You cannot expect to find the motivation to study or work when you have a dopamine pharmacy in your pocket that you visit every 5 minutes. You have to create a desert of stimulation so that a single drop of productive work feels like a cold glass of water. You must embrace the boredom. You must let yourself sit in the silence until the silence becomes a tool rather than a threat. When you remove the constant hits of cheap pleasure, your brain has no choice but to find satisfaction in the struggle. The wait at the gym becomes a relief. The difficult project becomes a puzzle to solve. The long walk becomes a journey. You are not lazy. You are just drowning in too much of a good thing. Elias emerged from his 24 hours of silence as a different man. He didn't have superpowers and he didn't have all the answers, but he had his agency back. He realized that the greatest lie we are told is that we should always be happy and always be entertained. True fulfillment doesn't live in the high of a viral video or the taste of a fast food meal. It lives in the quiet satisfaction of finishing a task that pushed you to your limit. It lives in the exhaustion after a day of honest work. It lives in the friction. If you want to change your life, you have to stop running from the discomfort and start moving towards it. You have to train your brain to see the struggle as the reward. Start tomorrow. Put the phone in another room. Turn off the noise. Sit with the boredom until it hurts. And then, when the pain of doing nothing becomes greater than the pain of doing the work, start. You will find that the work isn't the enemy. The work is the cure. You will find that your brain is capable of incredible things once you stop distracting it with garbage. The hard things are the only things that matter. They are the only things that build a life worth living. Stop being a spectator in your own mind. Take the wheel, turn off the lights, and find out who you really are when the world isn't shouting at you to look away.